Girlfriend won't stop spicing up our meals, ignores my health issues, and now she's upset that I want to cook separately. I'm a 25-year-old guy, and for the last 5 years, I've been in a relationship with my girlfriend, who's 23. Things between us have been great. She moved in with me 2 months ago, and honestly, we barely ever fight. Even when we have disagreements, we're really good at just talking things through calmly, without resorting to raised voices or harsh words. Our daily routines are a bit mismatched since she works from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., while I start later, from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Because of this, I take care of breakfast for both of us every morning, and she handles dinner. It's been a solid system, but there's one problem that's gradually been driving me crazy: her love for spicy food. She just loves her meals on the fiery side, way more than I can handle. I can take a bit of heat, sure, but eating spicy food all the time gives me acne flare-ups, heartburn, and, more than I care to admit, some pretty vicious bouts of diarrhea. Ever since she started making dinner, the spiciness level has gone through the roof. We'll have some kind of spicy stew or soup 4 or 5 times a week, loaded with serrano peppers. On other nights, she'll cook Thai or Indian curries with a mountain of chilies, and even when she's experimenting with pasta, she tosses in Calabrian chilies or jalapenos. It's relentless. It's gotten to the point where I end up with horrible diarrhea a couple of times each week. My acne's gotten so bad that my friends and coworkers have actually commented on how revolting my skin looks, and I'm popping antacids and acid inhibitors like candy. I tried talking to her about it, asking if we could dial down the spice, or maybe cook 2 batches of food, or at least just let her add hot sauce to her own plate. But every time, she just laughs it off and tells me to man up. She says if I can't handle a bit of spice, I need to adapt, because not everything in life will go my way. Last night after dinner, I finally felt like I'd had enough. I told her straight up that we needed to figure out a better dinner arrangement because I literally couldn't keep eating this way. Once again, she gave me the same lines about adapting and toughening up. But this time, I put my foot down. I explained that I absolutely cannot keep eating the food she makes because it's actually causing health problems. I told her I was willing to start making my own dinners. Since then, she's been giving me the cold shoulder, insisting that I don't appreciate her work around the house and complaining that she'll have to do twice as much now just because I'm being a baby about spicy foods. Am I truly in the wrong here? Update 1. Ever since my last confrontation with my girlfriend, things had been spiraling downward. The entire fiasco finally came to an explosive end just a few days ago, and I feel ready to open up about everything that happened. One night, after working late, I came home to the smell of yet another one of her Asian-flavored curries. I took a bite, and immediately recoiled. It was just too hot for me to handle. I told her, once again, that I simply couldn't eat her food and that it was starting to feel like borderline poisoning. She rolled her eyes, dismissing me, and told me to fill up on plain noodles if I couldn't handle it. She said she was too tired to make something else. That was the breaking point for me. I told her, if I can't eat what she makes, then I'll start making my own dinners from now on. And she exploded. All of a sudden, she insisted that if I made my own dinners, she'd be forced to make her own breakfasts, and she simply didn't have the time for that. The breakfast arrangement, something I hadn't even brought up, became ammunition for her frustration. I'd have been happy to make breakfast for both of us, but she was in no mood to listen. She ranted for a good 10 to 15 minutes about every minor annoyance, how I didn't change into home clothes before dinner, for me it made sense to eat, then, shower before bed, how I got up later than her job starts at 8 a.m., mine doesn't, yet I was always up in time to make her breakfast. I was blindsided. Where was all this coming from? She just demanded space and said she didn't want to talk to me. That night, I retreated to the guest room, not wanting to escalate anything further. The next couple of days were tense and silent. We hardly talked, made our own meals, and stayed in different rooms. By Saturday, I figured maybe some quality time together could help, so I asked if she wanted to go out for brunch. When we came back home, I tried to bring up what happened earlier in the week, but she just shut down again. Forget it, she told me. This new system works for both of us. But it wasn't working for me. Now we were living like 2 roommates sharing a house, not 2 people in love. I told her just that. I can't ignore my own feelings just to keep some broken system going. That's when it happened. In frustration, she snapped, "Why can't you be more like Colin?" My mind went blank. Who the hell is Colin? After a lot of prodding, she finally told me. Colin was a guy at her workplace. He was in a relationship with another woman in the same office, and apparently, they had a lot in common: food, hobbies, movies, travel, you name it. My girlfriend idolized their relationship because they shared everything in common, unlike us, where the overlap was maybe a 50-50 split. My hobbies are different. I collect watches, watch tennis, I work in a technical field designing construction equipment. She and people like Colin are all cut from the same creative mold: fashion, cosplay, reading. She had constructed this fantasy that Colin and his girlfriend were some ideal couple because they liked all the same things, and now she wanted me to become more like him, believing it would magically fix us. I argued that every relationship is different, and what matters is whether we love each other, whether we make each other happy. She tried to end the conversation. She just wasn't comfortable talking about it. I told her, if she couldn't talk to me, then who could she talk to? She left that night, saying she'd stay at a friend's house. I was left confused and overwhelmed, so I started looking up couples therapists, anything to salvage what felt like a dying relationship. The next morning, she was already home when I woke up. I made breakfast for both of us, but she said she'd already eaten. Then she started talking, listing out all the things that made her a bad person. It wasn't an apology, it was like she'd given up. Eventually, she just came out with it. Colin and his girlfriend had asked her to join their relationship as a throuple. I just went silent. I told her to pack up and leave. She tried to hug me, tried to talk, but I pushed her away, took her keys, and locked myself in the extra room, where I broke down and just cried. Maybe half an hour later, she came in, saw me crying, and broke down herself. All she did was curse herself, saying I deserved better. I told her tears meant nothing. Nothing. Later that night, my phone rang. An unknown number. It was Colin. He started cursing at me, calling me out for making my girlfriend cry, threatening me if I ever went near her again. I just told him he could have her to himself, and that I'd rather die than see her again. Then I hung up. A couple days after, as I left for work, I found my car keyed and the plants outside my front door destroyed. I have my suspicions, but there's no proof, so I'm not filing any charges, for now. I'm setting up cameras soon, though, I'm not taking any more chances. As for my ex, she keeps calling. At first it was apologies, voicemails begging me for closure, but when I didn't respond, she started throwing my personal traumas and secrets at me, reminding me of times when she'd had Colin and his girlfriend over at my house, even when I wasn't home, describing everything they'd done. The disgust and betrayal ran so deep I began having disturbing thoughts about myself. I've been going to therapy regularly, and I'm planning a weekend trip to Vegas with my two closest friends. Their support is the one thing that's gotten me through this whole mess. Slowly but surely, I'm getting better. I'm even considering selling the house and moving somewhere my past can't follow me. I've started thinking about moving out mainly because of security concerns, but there's a heavy emotional weight, too. I'm also constantly worried that she might give my address to my family, people I've purposefully gone no contact with. That fear lingers in the back of my mind, making me second guess every decision and every interaction. Right now, my goal is to get an internal transfer at my current company. I love the working culture there, and it feels like one of the only stable things in my life at the moment. If that doesn't work out, I might have to start looking for jobs in other cities. The thought is overwhelming, but sometimes I catch myself drifting off there anyway. With everything happening all at once, I haven't really had the time or the energy to process it all properly. My main priority, day by day, has just been to make sure I don't end up doing anything drastic or self-destructive. That's my baseline right now, just keeping my head above the water, trying to survive one day at a time while the ground continues to shift beneath me. Update 2. It's been about 3 weeks since my last update, and honestly, I wasn't sure if I'd ever post again. But some things have happened that I need to get off my chest, and writing seems to be one of the few things keeping me sane right now. The cameras I installed caught something 2 nights after I put them up. It wasn't my ex like I suspected, it was Colin. Around 2 a.m., he came back and spray-painted cowered across my garage door before taking a baseball bat to my mailbox. I've got it all on video now, crystal clear footage of his face and license plate. I filed a police report immediately, but that's not even the crazy part. Yesterday morning, I got a call from my ex's sister, Emma. We'd always gotten along well when my ex and I were together. She's the reasonable one in that family. She was crying on the phone, asking if we could meet for coffee. Said she had something important to tell me about her sister and that I deserved to know the truth. We met at a cafe downtown, and what she told me completely floored me. Apparently, this whole Colin situation started way before our breakup. Emma had suspected something was going on for months. My ex would get mysterious phone calls, leave the house at odd hours, and was always talking about this amazing couple at work. Emma had even confronted her about it back in January, but my ex denied everything. Here's the kicker, Colin and his girlfriend never actually asked my ex to join them as a throuple. That was a complete lie. What really happened was that my ex had been having an affair with Colin for months, and when his actual girlfriend found out, she gave him an ultimatum, end it with my ex or lose her. Colin chose his girlfriend. So my ex, desperate and caught, made up this whole throuple story to try to make it sound like she was leaving me for something better rather than admitting she'd been cheating and got dumped. Emma showed me screenshots of text conversations she'd had with my ex where she basically admitted to all of this. My ex had been planning to string me along as a backup while pursuing Colin, but when that fell through, she panicked and created this elaborate lie to save face. I felt sick reading those messages. All those times she came home late from work events, all those nights she was too tired for intimacy, all those dinners where she seemed distracted. It all made sense now. And the spicy food thing? Emma thinks that was her way of pushing me away without having to be the bad guy who initiated a breakup. But wait, it gets worse. Emma also told me that my ex has been telling people, including our mutual friends, that I was emotionally abusive and controlling. That I monitored her food choices, isolated her from her coworkers, and made her feel trapped. She's been painting herself as the victim who finally escaped a toxic relationship. Some of our friends have already started giving me the cold shoulder, and I'm realizing I might lose more than just her in all this. The most disturbing part? Emma thinks my ex might be having some kind of breakdown. She's been calling in sick to work, posting cryptic stuff on social media about toxic men and finding your worth, and apparently showed up at Colin's apartment last weekend screaming at him and his girlfriend. Building security had to escort her out. Emma begged me not to let anyone know she told me this stuff. She's worried about what her sister might do if she finds out. She also warned me to be extra careful because my ex has been asking her about my daily routine, where I work, what time I usually get home. Emma thinks she might be planning something, though she doesn't know what. I don't know what to feel anymore. Part of me is relieved to finally know the truth, but mostly I just feel hollow. The woman I thought I loved for 2.5 years never really existed. And now I'm dealing with vandalism, police reports, character assassination, and the paranoia that she might escalate things further. My therapist says I need to consider getting a restraining order, especially with the evidence I have now. My friends are telling me to move, change my number, and start fresh somewhere else. The internal transfer at work is looking more and more unlikely. My focus has been completely shot. I never thought my life would turn into something this messy. 3 months ago, my biggest worry was heartburn from spicy food. Now I'm installing security systems and looking over my shoulder every time I leave the house. I just want this nightmare to be over. Update 3. I thought things couldn't get more insane, but I was wrong. Dead wrong. Last Friday, I finally got the restraining order approved. The judge took one look at the video footage of Colin vandalizing my property and the screenshots Emma provided, and granted it immediately. I felt like I could breathe again for the first time in weeks. That relief lasted exactly 4 days. Tuesday evening, I was heating up some leftover Chinese takeout when my doorbell rang. Through the security camera, I saw a woman I didn't recognize, mid-40s, well-dressed, holding what looked like a manila envelope. I almost didn't answer, but something about her demeanor seemed professional, not threatening. When I opened the door, she introduced herself as Sarah Chen, Colin's girlfriend. The same girlfriend my ex had supposedly been invited to join in their fake throuple. My blood ran cold. I think we need to talk, she said, and her voice was shaking. I let her in, mostly because I was too stunned to do anything else. She sat down at my kitchen table and slid the envelope across to me. Colin doesn't know I'm here, she began. And if he finds out, I'm probably dead. But you deserve to know what's really been happening. Inside the envelope were printed screenshots, photos, and what looked like financial records. Sarah had been doing her own detective work, and what she'd uncovered made my stomach drop. Turns out, my ex hadn't just been having an affair with Colin. She'd been systematically manipulating both of us for months. Sarah showed me evidence that my ex had been telling Colin that I was abusive, that she was afraid of me, and that she needed his protection. She'd even sent him photos of bruises on her arms, bruises that Sarah now believes my ex gave herself. But here's where it gets really twisted. My ex had convinced Colin to start transferring money to her account, supposedly to help her escape from me. Small amounts at first, $200 here, $500 there for emergency expenses when she needed to get away from me for a few days. Over the past 4 months, Colin had sent her nearly $8,000. Sarah discovered this when she noticed their savings account draining. When she confronted Colin about it, he broke down and told her everything. About the affair, the money, all of it. He claimed my ex had manipulated him into believing she was in danger. The night she showed up at our apartment screaming, Sarah continued, it wasn't because we rejected her. It was because Colin told her he couldn't give her any more money, and that I knew about everything. She was furious that her meal ticket was drying up. Sarah pulled out her phone and showed me a voice message my ex had left Colin just 3 days ago. In it, my ex was sobbing, begging him to reconsider, saying she had nowhere else to turn and that I was making her life hell with a restraining order. She threatened to hurt herself if he didn't help her. Colin's a mess, Sarah said. He genuinely believes he was helping someone in an abusive situation. But I think he's finally starting to see that she played him just as much as she played you. Then Sarah dropped the biggest bombshell. There's something else. Your ex isn't just targeting you too. Emma isn't the only one she's been talking to about your personal information. She showed me screenshots of messages between my ex and someone named Mike, my ex's cousin who I'd met maybe twice in 2 years. My ex had been asking Mike about my work schedule, my car, even about my family situation. Mike, apparently thinking she was just concerned about me post-breakup, had been feeding her information. She knows you've been going to therapy on Thursdays at 3 p.m., Sarah said. She knows about your weekend trip to Vegas that got cancelled. She even knows about the internal transfer you applied for at work. My hands were shaking as I looked through everything. The level of calculation was terrifying. Sarah leaned forward. Look, I know this is a lot. But Colin and we've decided to go to the police tomorrow. We have evidence of the financial manipulation, and with what you already have, maybe we can get her some actual consequences. After Sarah left, I called Emma immediately. When I told her what I'd learned, there was a long silence. Oh God, she finally whispered. She asked me about Mike last week, asked if I thought he'd be willing to help her figure out how to make things right with you. I thought she meant apologizing. Emma agreed to meet with Sarah and me, and we're all going to the police station together tomorrow morning. Emma also revealed something that made my blood run cold. My ex had been asking about my spare key, The one I used to keep hidden under a fake rock by the front door. I'd moved it months ago, but the fact that she was asking about it. I'm not sleeping at the house tonight. I'm staying at my friend Dave's place, and honestly, I don't know when I'll feel safe going back home. I keep thinking about all those nights she'd come home late, claiming she was working late or out with colleagues. How many times had she been with Colin, planning this whole elaborate scheme? The woman I loved never existed. She was just a character my ex created to get what she wanted from me. And when she found someone else who could give her more, or so she thought, she was ready to destroy me to cover her tracks. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but for the first time since this nightmare started, I don't feel like I'm facing it alone. Sarah and Emma both seem genuinely shaken by what we've uncovered, and knowing that there are people who can see through my ex's lies gives me hope that maybe this will finally be over soon, although I have a sinking feeling that my ex isn't going to go down without a fight. Update 4. The police visit didn't go the way any of us expected. What we thought would be a straightforward case of fraud and harassment turned into something much more complicated, and much more dangerous. When Sarah, Emma, and I walked into the station Wednesday morning, Detective Martinez listened to our story and reviewed all our evidence. The financial records, the screenshots, the video footage of Colin vandalizing my property. It all painted a clear picture. Or so we thought. This is definitely enough for charges, Detective Martinez said, but I need to warn you about something. We ran your ex-girlfriend's name through our system, and this isn't her first rodeo. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Turns out, my ex has a history. 3 years ago, before I even met her, she was involved in a similar situation with another couple in Portland. Same pattern, emotional manipulation, financial fraud, false abuse claims. The charges were eventually dropped when she disappeared, but there's still an active warrant for her in Oregon. The concerning part, Detective Martinez continued, is that her behavior is escalating. The Portland case involved maybe $2,000. Your situation involves $8,000 plus property damage. We're looking at someone who's getting bolder. Emma went pale. I need to tell you something else, she said quietly. Yesterday, my sister called me. She was different. Manic. She kept talking about how everyone was against her, how she was going to set the record straight. She mentioned something about having insurance in case things went bad. Detective Martinez leaned forward. What kind of insurance? I don't know, but she said she had recordings of both you, Emma looked at me, and Colin that would destroy you if you didn't back off. That's when Sarah spoke up. Recordings of what? Colin told me everything. What could she possibly have? We left the police station with more questions than answers, but at least the wheels were in motion. Detective Martinez said they'd have a warrant out for my ex within 24 hours, and advised all of us to be extra cautious. I should have listened more carefully to that advice. Thursday night, I was at Dave's place watching TV when his doorbell rang around 10 p.m. Dave looked through the peephole and his face went white. Dude, there's a woman out there who looks exactly like the photos you showed me of your ex. My heart started pounding. I looked through the peephole myself. It was definitely her, but she looked unhinged. Her hair was messy, her clothes wrinkled, and she was pacing back and forth on the porch, talking to herself. Dave wanted to call the cops immediately, but I stopped him. Let me see what she wants first. Maybe she'll say something that helps our case. Biggest mistake I could have made. I opened the door but stayed behind the security chain. What do you want? She looked up at me with eyes that were both desperate and furious. I know what you're trying to do, she said, her voice eerily calm. You think you're so smart, turning everyone against me. Colin, Emma, even that bitch Sarah. You brought this on yourself, I said. The police know everything now. That's when she smiled, a cold, calculating smile that made my skin crawl. Do they know about the recordings? What recordings? She pulled out her phone and tapped the screen. Suddenly, I heard my own voice coming through the speaker. Honestly, sometimes I wonder if you're doing this on purpose. Making the food that spicy just to mess with me. It was from one of our arguments about dinner, but the way she'd edited it, it sounded like I was accusing her of deliberately trying to hurt me. Like I was the controlling one. I've got hours of this stuff, she said. You talking about how you wish I'd just disappear. Me crying because of things you said. Colin talking about how he wanted to take care of me because you were such a terrible boyfriend. My blood ran cold. She'd been recording us for months, maybe the entire relationship. What do you want? I asked. I want you to call off the dogs. Tell the police it was all a misunderstanding. Get Colin to drop his complaints. Do that, and these recordings stay between us. And if I don't? Her smile got wider. Then tomorrow morning, these go to your work, your friends, your family, everyone. Let's see how your reputation holds up when people hear what you're really like behind closed doors. Dave appeared behind me. That's enough. We're calling the police. That's when she completely snapped. She started screaming at the top of her lungs, help. He's threatening me. Someone call the police. Dave and I just stared at each other in horror as she continued her performance for any neighbors who might be listening. Please, I just want to talk and he's being violent. Within minutes, we heard sirens. 2 patrol cars pulled up, and suddenly we were in the surreal situation of explaining to police officers that the woman screaming for help was actually the one we'd filed complaints against. Fortunately, Detective Martinez had briefed the patrol officers about our case. When they saw my ex, they immediately recognized her from the warrant photo. But she wasn't done with her performance. As they approached her, she suddenly collapsed on Dave's front lawn, sobbing hysterically. "I just wanted to apologize," she wailed. "I just wanted to make things right, but he won't even let me explain." The officers weren't buying it, especially when they noticed she was holding her phone in recording mode during her entire breakdown. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for violation of a restraining order," one of them said. That's when she played her final card. "Wait!" she screamed. "I'm pregnant. You can't arrest a pregnant woman. The baby is his." She pointed directly at me. The words hit me like a physical blow. Pregnant? We'd broken up months ago, and she'd been with Colin since. Unless. But Dave stepped forward. "Officers, I've been living with this guy for the past 2 weeks. Trust me, there's no way that's his kid." As they put her in handcuffs, she looked directly at me with pure hatred in her eyes. "This isn't over," she mouthed silently. After she was loaded into the patrol car, Detective Martinez arrived. "The pregnancy thing is almost certainly another lie," he assured me. "It's a common manipulation tactic. We'll have her evaluated at the station." "What about the recordings?" I asked. "If they exist, we'll find them. Her phone will be part of the evidence now." As I watched the patrol car drive away with my ex in the back seat, I thought this nightmare might finally be ending, but something in her eyes when she looked at me told me she wasn't finished yet. Detective Martinez must have seen the worry on my face. "Don't let her get in your head," he said. "People like her bank on keeping their victims afraid even when they're behind bars." But as I tried to fall asleep at Dave's place that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that she had one more card left to play. And knowing her, it was going to be a big one. I was right to be worried. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from Emma.